A year ago this week, almost to the day, March 21st, we sat right here and you outlined for me your plan to modernize the severance tax when it comes to oil and gas production, use the money for income tax reduction, don't overreach. And at the time, it sounded like a no-brainer, a done deal. What happened?
You know, it's change and an industry fighting back. And, you know, I just heard the other day that industry said down in West Virginia, you know, if you do this, we won't come. And, you know, I think it's part of that. It's a fear that's been spread. But, you know, people are going to come to Ohio. I just met with a guy yesterday. They expect another $2 or $3 billion, $2 billion invested in the state in some big plants. And, John, you know, look, it took me 10 years of my life to get to a balanced budget in Washington. It took me 10 years to bring about some Pentagon reform that saved us a ton of money and limited the production of a plane I didn't think we needed. It just takes time. And we'll see. I'm not giving up on this. And if we don't get it this year, then we'll fight next year. And if we don't get it the next year, I'll fight the next year. And at some point, we'll get it. Because it doesn't make sense to let an out-of-state oil company pay 20 cents on an $80 or $90 barrel of oil. That's just not fair. And then to deplete our resources and take them back to another state. So we'll just keep at it until we get it done.
When I hear Republican opposition to that and Republican opposition possibly to the state income tax expanding of it, my first reaction is, well, it's ideological. But then I see Grover Norquist and Americans for Tax Reform supporting, endorsing the budget. So obviously there's bigger things at play here. How do you overcome, how big of an obstacle are the lobbies that you have to face, and how do you break that grip?
Well, it's a resistance to change, and in fear with some people. Just keep at it. You know, I can remember when I offered my first budget, significant budget savings in Washington. The vote was 405 to 30, and I had 30. And there was about 4 or 5 of my Democratic pals who voted for it because they didn't want me to be totally embarrassed. 3 years later, I had more votes than the president had, and then in '97, I was one of the architects. You just keep at it. If you have the right policy and you don't knock the pieces off the chessboard and you just keep plugging away, generally your good ideas will pass. Now, we've got one thing that's passing here, the turnpike. You know, that sat around for 25 years, and amazingly, in the blink of an eye, we're going to get this changed, and Northern Ohio is going to benefit greatly. Some of them happen quicker than others. But I think big oil has, you know, told people, well, you know, we won't come to Ohio. And I understand people concerned about it because there's areas of the state that haven't had very good employment. And when they hear that, they go, well, why do we need to do anything? Fact is, those scare tactics are used all the time in every single state. What we're proposing in our severance tax is less than the taxes in really all the other producing states. So you just keep at it, and again, you don't lose your patience, and just keep at it.
The chamber came out and spoke yesterday against the expansion of the income tax and the lowering of it, saying they feared that it would shift the burden of tax to business and also slow economic growth. Obviously, you disagree with that.
Well, look, we're up over 100,000 jobs, and you know, the chamber's testimony is I don't understand what their testimony was. Like, they're for the status quo, high income taxes and no help for small business. Look, what this plan does is it says that if you're a florist and you make $30,000, you will only pay taxes on $15,000. You will get a 50% tax cut off your net income. Why are we for that? Small businesses create over half the jobs in Ohio. We want them to reinvest in their business. We also want them to hire people. The income tax cut is designed to bring down the taxes so we're more competitive. There's a lot of states that have no income tax that are growing like crazy. So we have to be more competitive, and as we lower the top rate, as that moves all the way through the brackets, there'll be some people that will not pay income tax as a result. They'll be taken off the rolls, which would be good. The issue is, how do we get there? Now, we have a big chunk of money that can provide for the small business tax cut. Because of the savings we've had over the last couple years, we can have a small business tax cut. If the legislature doesn't try to spend that money or divert it somehow, I don't think they will. And then we have to find some dollars, some resources to bring the income tax down. And if you don't like my plan, that's okay. I just don't want to lose the goals, because John, we have momentum going in Ohio. You can feel it in Cleveland. I mean, you can feel the growth and the momentum and the optimism. We have to keep it going. And if we fear change and if we stick to the status quo, we'll go backwards. And I don't want to have that happen.
Medicaid expansion. How do you balance being a Republican governor opposed to Obamacare, yet in a state heavily dependent upon the medical industry who apparently would benefit from Medicaid expansion? How do you sell to the Republican legislature it's okay to get on board?
Because you got to do the right thing. In other words, what Medicaid expansion allows us to do is to reclaim $13 billion of our money. There's no federal dollars. There are dollars that we send to Washington. Reclaim it and help people who are disabled, mentally ill, addicted, and help them to get a life back too. Take somebody between 50 and 60 years old who loses their job. They have no health insurance. A lot of the people that don't have health insurance are the working poor. So what I try to communicate to people is, first of all, it could be you. It could be you that finds yourself unemployed. It could be you that has a child that has a mental illness. It could be you that has a child that has an addiction. Put yourself in other people's positions and have the compassion to understand that we've got to help these people. John, my philosophy is real simple. Strengthen yourself economically, help the people that live in the shadows to get out of the shadows. And so on this program, I don't think about it. I don't think as a CEO of Ohio that I'm a Republican. I am a conservative. I am a Republican. But I don't operate in that mold. I mean, my job's I'm the CEO. I got to make Ohio work. And so I'm going to do what I think I have to do to make Ohio work and let the chips fall where they may.
Is too much being made of yourself going this direction, Chris Christie, Rick Scott, in being in favor of this?
I don't know. I mean, look, with Obamacare, I don't support Obamacare. I don't believe in the individual mandate or some of these insurance things they're doing or having a state exchange where they tell us what to do. But this is a piece of it that can allow us. This was something that John Roberts at the Supreme Court said should be a state choice. And my choice is this benefits Ohio. Let me tell you, you want to create chaos? Don't pass this and see what happens to the Cleveland Clinic and University Hospital up there in Cleveland. It will be a very bad impact on them, and I'm not about to weaken the Cleveland Clinic or University Hospital or any or other hospitals around this state. That would be a big mistake for us. So, you know, we'll keep working at it.
Rob Portman made news this past week with his position on gay marriage, changing it because of his son coming out. Could you ever see a time where you yourself might change your position?
I really can't see one. I mean, I talked to Rob and encouraged him, and you know, if people want to have civil unions and have some way to transfer their resources, I'm for that. But I don't support a gay marriage, and I'm not angry at anybody because of this. I just think marriage is between a man and a woman, but if you want to have a civil union, that's fine with me. But you know, and I've got friends that are gay, and I've told them, look, it's just not something that I agree with, and I'm not doing it out of a sense of anger or judgment. It's just my opinion on this issue, as I've you know, kind of see the kind of the basis of what I think about a marriage.